Good afternoon. It is Saturday, 28th of May 2022, and it is 20 past 4 on this beautiful afternoon here in Gloucester Docks, and as you can hear, I've got my voice back. This episode was supposed to be concluding the series of videos that we recently started covering our complete refit of the interior of Josefine a couple of years ago. But there's been a change of plan, and instead this week we're actually going to go sailing. We're going sailing on a boat called Mascotte, one of, if not the most famous of Bristol Channel pilot cutters still sailing in the UK today. During the winter we've been stabled here at T. Nielsen's shipyard alongside Mascotte, and during that time I was fortunate enough to get to know her new skipper, a chap called Adam Spargo. And when an opportunity arose, I jumped at the chance to help crew Mascotte back to her hometown here in the spring, which is Charleston on the south coast of England. And that's what we did last week. I don't often take time off. In fact, this is the first week I've had off in many years, but we had an absolutely fantastic time, and I videoed it for you, and that's what we're going to look at now. It needs a little introduction because the video begins with Mascotte somewhat strangely anchored in the middle of the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal. And the reason for that is this: to get from here to Sharpness, where one locks out onto the channel, Bristol Channel, one has to navigate 16 miles of canal, which is crisscrossed with a lot of roads and swing bridges. And due to a mix-up over times, we unfortunately missed the last few bridges and ended up having to spend the night anchored in the middle of the canal, which is where the video opens. The normal procedure, a common procedure anyway, for doing this trip is to cruise down. It takes about 4 hours to get from here to Sharpness the day before locking out, because normally it would be an early morning lockout. So go down the day before and stay at a place called Purton, which is only a mile away from Sharpness Locks, and spend the night there so that you're ready for an early morning lockout. Obviously we couldn't do that, so by the time we'd spent the night on the canal anchored and the bridges opened in the morning, we'd missed obviously the tide, and we'd missed our lockout. So what we did was spend the day at Purton preparing the boats. We put in a precautionary reef so that we wouldn't have to mess about doing that on the way down, and the largely new crew and new skipper had the opportunity to get to know the boat and each other, so it worked out well in the end. So we spent the day at Purton doing that, and you'll see that in the video. And then we instead of doing an early morning lockout, we did an evening one and went down in the evening. The weather was fine, so it was great. In fact, the conditions were brilliant, as you will see. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll get back in the coming weeks to covering the work we did on the fit out in Josefine. And at the end of this video I'll just give you a very quick update of exactly where we are today as we speak, so I'll bring you bang up to date. So cue anchoring in the middle of the canal. Go. Battling the elements in a Bristol pilot cutter. Sorry? Yeah, that's what it's all about. It's a tough life. Yeah. This is our anchorage, Gloucester and Sharpness Canal.
9.2.
Right.
So you know what what you got, and there's a tide gauge there. So you just go straight, leave the tide gauge to port,
right,
and you're good.
This is the Admiralty chart for the section of the Bristol estuary between Sharpness and Avonmouth, the trickiest and most dangerous bit. The first thing to note is that the navigable channel is not straight down the middle of the river. It weaves back and forth from side to side, often worryingly close to the riverbank. These two graphics explain why. The chart on the left shows where there is water at low tide. The one on the right shows where the water is deep enough to float a boat. As you can see, it's high tide or no tide, so no time to hang about. In fact, the navigable window is about 30 minutes either side of the target time. Fortunately, this part of the Severn is extremely well marked with transits, channel markers, cardinals, etc. For those of you not familiar with them, a transit can be any two objects which line up with the track you want to follow. On the Severn, the transits are purpose install beacons of various shapes and sizes, and at night they are lit. In this second transit, one lines up the beacons from astern. Obviously, they work in either direction.
Yeah, we're coming out this way.
We might go. We're coming out this way. We might just stay the wrong side of that, boys, because then we can't possibly hit shit. But it's not far off, you know.
What is that?
Have you got mid grounds?
Yeah, that's west middle ground there. Look.
Right, yeah. Yes.
So
middle ground
that's
there.
the end of middle ground there.
That's middle ground there. Okay. And we're going to be coming out
Down the bottom.
down here. Okay, so we're on this channel here then.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to be north of that cardinal there, are we?
Not necessarily, but yes, close to it.
So if I put something like that,
Yeah.
this will
The moles.
the moles
Yeah.
Yeah.
inside the mole.
So that's that one. That one more than that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah. So you'll slow right down because you won't be saying you'll just be.
The whole
doing
idea
this.
is just to avoid having to go around this.
Yeah.
Main
No, the whole idea is to
better off
go
going
west,
west,
pick balls and everything.
sailing, and then
Just go around the outside.
attacking
That's why they put the
and
fucking
still
brake lights
sailing
on.
rather than punching into it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that.
3 hours.
3 hours. Right, 3 hours then.
Yep.
Let's try and find that.
Start again at what, 4 o'clock?
Yeah.
mind an engine failure now, would you? I don't think so. I mean, this is port.
Yeah, very good. When it goes up that way too much.
Yeah. More?
Get back on course, then stick back a bit there.
You know, you don't want to go.
I'm a sailor.
Bad day for us all.
Your treat,
Of course. And it is just like a switch the tide. There's still... What was that? Course speed. Okay.
No, I'm in your way, don't worry. As we progressed south, the weather forecast started predicting a rough ride for our Land's End passage, gusting headwinds of 35 knots and 4-metre swells. So after careful consideration, the skipper decided to nip into Padstow and wait it out. We arrived at about midnight with no tide to enter Padstow, so anchored in between some rocky islands called the Moors, just outside Padstow Bay, and we entered Padstow the following morning.
take it away. I've seen him measuring. He's got the measurements. You can just tell him to do it.
That's it, yeah.
You think
Right,
he
which colour's making all this horrible noise?
Bench.
Right. You stand up now, we're here. No, stop, please.
Stand up.
Yeah. Yeah, there we are.
Use the canvas one.
Yeah. They just like throw
Maybe
together.
we can stick these on top of it.
Sorry.
He said it's here.
No.
No, he's just gonna have all the
Yeah. When we sat on that. Oh, hang on a second out there. Throw out my jacket. Yeah. These are made by a special sheep by a very special lady
Oh,
in the mountains of Austria.
We were talking about it the other day.
Yeah, Flora.
Flora, yeah.
Flora's granny made these. She started
Good morning, it's 16th of May. I'm on Mascotte. I'm still with first mate Bill alongside me. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning.
Morning. And we are just going into Padstow to escape some shitty weather. And it's a grey morning. It's not cold, but it's grey and threatening to rain. And this is the entrance to Padstow. My apologies for the poor audio. The crew here are Bill, Mascotte's first mate, Anya, Mascotte's trainee deckhand, and Tony Knight, former Mascotte skipper, lifelong trawlerman and fantastic artist. I really recommend you check out his paintings. Stood next to me is trawlerman and artist extraordinaire, Tony Knight. Morning, Tony.
Morning.
Tony used to be the skipper on this boat, so he's here in his advisory capacity.
What's right?
Advisory capacity.
Yeah, that's it.
Former skipper of Mascotte. When were you last in here, Tony?
On leader.
Okay.
Probably about 4 years, 5 years ago.
Right.
Absolutely fine, starboard side.
Okay, I'll see that side. Thank you.
And it's time for breakfast. Around Land's End, we didn't want to go around there in gusting 35, wind against tide and all the rest of it. It was going to be pretty hairy, so we popped in here for a couple of days to escape it. And Mascotte's part of a group of boats managed by a girl called Jess, and she'll decide whether she needs me to continue on from here, which would be nice for me, round to Falmouth, because it's been a fabulous trip so far. It's a real privilege, actually. It's a great privilege to be with a lot of experienced sailors and such a beautiful boat as Mascotte. So I hope I will, but we'll see. She'll let me know this afternoon. So I'm just making the most of it, have a little wander around, and then I'll find out later on whether I'll be continuing on from here. The rest of the crew are, some of them are napping, some of them are showering. We tidied up the boat and moored her out this morning and did one or two other sort of maintenance things, so I thought I'd just nip in and show you around the town. It's really, well, village I suppose. It's what you'd expect of a fishing village, an old fishing village, much more modernised now and more here for the tourists than the fishing. It was once you know, fishing would have been very much the heart and soul of the village at one time. Still very pretty, and there's still fishing goes on here. But you get some lovely glimpses at the end of some of the streets, out to sea, the beaches, and the coast round here. So We'll just see how things go. Cornish pasty now. I ought to come and have a Cornish pasty, shouldn't I? If you're going to have one anywhere, here's the place to have it, I suppose. Two places. Pasto Pasty Company and the Cornish Pasty Company. Right next to door to each other, of course. Yeah, I've definitely got to come and have one of those at some stage before I go. Even if I don't stay with the boat, I'll have to come and have one of those. Great fan of Cornish pasties. As long as there's no meat in them, of course. An anathema, I suppose, to Cornish pasty makers. It's just at the beginning of the tourist season, I suppose, May. Brandy and I used to come here back in the 80s, actually. We always used to come down to this part of Cornwall in April before the holiday season started, when it was nice and quiet. We bring our dogs down and walk along the beaches. Come down here for 2 weeks. It was fabulous. It's a shame Randy can't be here, really. But hopefully the next time we come in here, we'll come in here with Josefine. That would be really nice, wouldn't it? We spent 3 very boozy nights in Padstow, then made for Land's End. By now the conditions had improved enough for us to take the slightly scary route inside the longships. It's very unnerving to see huge green waves breaking over rocks just below the surface, a stone's throw from your passage. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. As promised, I'm going to finish this episode by giving you a whirlwind tour of where we are, bringing you smack up to date where we are with the boat. We're sort of, I like to call them finishing touches, but it's a little bit more than that. This is going to be a bit chaotic because I'm going to sort of literally just move around the deck and tell you what we're doing at the moment. I've got the Panama cleats to finish. There's 4 of them, bow and stern positions, you can see here. This one I did yesterday. You can see it's half finished. It's mounted, the mounting holes and everything have been drilled, ready to take it. It's out there. You can see it over there. Randy's given it a coat of D1 and will then varnish it. The other one is here. Lovely piece of wood. It's easy enough to make these. It's just a 2-inch thick oak plank, and then you make up something that you think is a reasonable shape for a cleat, which is what I did, and it worked really well. And that one will be going on here. While we're here, I'll just show you the stern deck isn't quite finished yet. We made a good start on this. Jason came in and made those 2 covering boards there, the two larger ones. There's a piece in the middle that's got to be done, and then the whole thing can be shaped. Stanchions can be cut down to their right level, and then I can finish the capping rail, put a seating area in here, make a table to go over the steering system, which is all up and running. And after a lot of tweaking and things, the hoses have now been fastened in and it works perfectly. It's all complete now. We had a little leak in the pedestal in the engine room, in the wheelhouse, but I fixed that. Some nice new fenders arrived this week, all very, very bright, but as Master Shipwright Nigel here at Nielsen's pointed out, at least they'll be difficult to nick. One's down there because I'm going to make a sort of cages inside the counter stern there, a space which is of no use to anything else, so that we can store our fenders below deck in that area, which is the engine room. That's all that package in there. And then we finally got a little bit of wiring and stuff to do, the instrumentation here, keeping it nice and simple. Back in goes our auto helm, log and transducer. I've got a gas alarm here to put in a new one, and over there you can see an Icon radio and transponder, which has got to all be fitted. So we're at that sort of stage really. It's quite exciting. As I said, this is a bit chaotic because there's such a lot of things going on. You can see also I've got to put back the vents. You can see over there those vents fit here. I've got to drill large holes in my nice covering board, but ventilation, as you know, is so important. So yeah, lots and lots and lots of different little jobs going on. I've also got to put a second steering position in, so I've got a bit of engineering here to do. That's the electric motor for the auto helm, and this is the drive shaft, which will allow us to have a second wheel out here in the front of this locker. So there'll be a shaft running along from the inside with a sort of chain and gear. You see I've bought some blanks here which have now got to be machined to fit whatever system that I come up with. So that's another little job that's all got to be done. So yeah, lots of little jobs, but it's we're getting there. So that brings you nicely up to date. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Sorry it wasn't about the internal fit out, but that will come up probably in the next 2 weeks. So I look forward to bringing you that, and hope you're all having a nice weekend. Ciao for now.